Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jim Patterson with Wickersoft, and I'll be one of your presenters today. Joining me today is Doug Welsby, a product manager and solution specialist who will be conducting a demonstration for us today of the concepts that we're going to be discussing. And our topic today is program and project financial management. Just a little bit of a housekeeping before we get started. The lines will be muted during the course of the presentation. However, there is a question panel in GoToWebinar that feel free to ask questions in there, and we'll respond to them as they come up. If for some reason we don't get to some of them by the end of the webinar, we'll be happy to respond to you in email as well. So we want to make sure that we respond to all of them as they come up. Also, if you get distracted or pulled away, no need to worry. We are recording the presentation, and we'll be sending out a link to the recording as well as a copy of the slides that are being presented today to all that have attended the webinar today. So with that, let's get started with the topic today of program and project financial management. Some of the topics that we're going to be discussing today is the concepts of project financial management and its importance in the overall PPM or project and portfolio management process. We'll talk about the capabilities of Microsoft Project Online and how they address the areas that we're discussing today for financial and cost management. We're then going to focus on Wickersoft's enhancements of OnePlan for financial planning in Project Online and how it extends those capabilities to really provide a fully robust financial management solution for you and your organizations. We'll talk about things that it offers from a financial reporting and analysis perspective. And then we're really going to focus on showing you live how it works, and Doug will be doing a demonstration of those capabilities in action to show you that those things are here today. Afterwards, we'll do a summary and a wrap-up. And also have some special offers for you for registering and attending today. So with that, let's get started. So let's talk about some of the concepts of financial management and project management. We've done webinars in the past on overall project portfolio management concepts. And we talked about some of the areas that are in here regarding pipeline management, resource management, change control, financial management, and risk management as major components. But highlighted within the bodies of those, please see that cost, budget, and financial management are all parts of all the aspects of project and portfolio management. From a pipeline management perspective of all the intake and the things that we're evaluating as doing as potential investments for our company and trying to prioritize the right ones that align with our business, there's an estimating and a capital investment assessment that needs to be done in most cases to see if we can do these things from a cost and effort perspective. On the resource management side of things, there's all kinds of resources, whether it be labor, financial resources, et cetera, that have to be considered in determining our wherewithal to actually execute on the things that we're considering doing. From a change control perspective, we have to look at changes that are proposed during the life cycle of projects and consider not only their schedule, but also their financial and resource or operational constraints that or impacts that may occur because of adopting some of these changes. Obviously, financial management is ripe with all the areas of cost, whether we're establishing the overall value of a project, whether we're looking at the financial controls and making sure that we actually deliver projects within the constraints or the budgets that we've done. In-process measurements, things like earned value or other project financial techniques as we're looking at the cost dimension of our projects. So those are all aspects that need to be considered in the project and portfolio management process. And even as we're identifying things like risks, when we look at risks, there is a cost or potential cost impact of each risk that we may be looking at, and those have to be considered as well. So needless to say, we don't want to ignore the financial or the cost dimension of project and portfolio management as we're embarking upon this discipline. So what is project financial and or cost management? Well, it's one of the 10 knowledge areas in the project management body of knowledge, or PMBOK, from the Project Management Institute. And it really is intended to deliver cost management from a planning perspective, the ability to estimate costs so that we can actually determine what it's going to take to deliver a project, determining and agreeing upon a budget that we're going to manage to, and then after we do that, controlling those costs and basically managing to those costs so that we can come in within budget if possible. The process that we go into to executing on this really involves, three major areas. One is cost estimation. which is where we work with the financial departments and other areas to determine all of the costs required to deliver a project, whether it be the different goods, services, or labor that we need to access in order to deliver that project. Then we have to determine an overall budget. And oftentimes in organizations today, people are still using spreadsheets to do these things. They're usually disconnected from the rest of the project information, and oftentimes they're not just integrated into the all framework, and it's a process in and of itself. The idea that the project manager needs to work in collaboration with the financial departments and other folks to determine what that budget is, and then agree upon that budget before we actually embark upon that project. Then the spending control is really the step of the project manager really managing the process and the cost during the life cycle of the project so that we can track it to the budget and see how we're doing within process measurements and whether our spend rates are commensurate with the progress that we're making on those projects so that we can come out the end in a positive fashion. Now, by the numbers, the value of putting in and having these things done within the context of a PPM system and not just separate as a standalone spreadsheet exercise is the reality of projects. And there's different numbers on this by different analysts, but here's just some of them. That there's still a large dollar volume of projects that are still considered failed or aren't successful within the US today. 68% challenged or failed by different assessments. Schedule overruns is a big component, but cost overruns is true in over 43% of the projects that are being managed today. What's been shown by implementing a PPM solution, of which financial management, schedule management, resource management, and all of the aspects of that are in place, is the fact that but we can improve strategic alignment, meaning that we are spending money on the right things. We can improve schedule performance. Time to market, meaning helps us be more competitive. But just in an IT realm, a 2 to 5% budget saving, where the IT spend is often in the millions, provides a big savings of which can well justify the implementation of a PPM solution, as well as improving performance to the bottom line. So how does Microsoft Project Online fit in this from a PPM perspective? Well, first off, it really is a robust, fully functional end-to-end solution that provides the areas and capabilities in the areas of portfolio management, whether it be that pipeline or demand management, all the way through portfolio selection and reporting around that. The project management, where we're executing on schedules and issues and risks and management and reporting at things on a project level. The resource management, which can impact the cost side of things that we're talking about today, whether it be higher level capacity planning, resource assignments, and collecting time sheets for actuals, or just the general collaboration around that. The idea is all these dimensions are native within the core capabilities of Microsoft Project and Project Online. So if we think about Project Online being that end-to-end solution, and one of the advantages of that, with the advent and the proliferation of companies using Office 365 as their business productivity and collaboration platform, Project Online just becomes another extension of the user experience within Office 365. People come into the selection of applications, often referred to as the waffle, and it just becomes another solution or another option within the user's Office 365 realm. Now, today we're going to focus on the financial management pieces of it, but the idea here is having financial management done in the context of an overall solution, and it becomes just one dimension of project and portfolio management information, makes it much more valuable as it's integrated into that entire process. Now, having it in Office 365 makes it a lot simpler than it was in the past. Back in the on-premise days with things like Project Server and other PPM solutions, people had to manage the infrastructure. They had to maintain it. They had to have IT support and database maintenance. All those things are now the domain and provided as part of that Office 365 cloud experience. Not only that, the other business productivity tools you use in Office 365, whether it be Skype, whether it be Word or SharePoint for collaboration, the idea is those are now used in a project and portfolio management context as part of your overall process. So let's focus on the financial planning capabilities. Now, Microsoft Project and Project Online do offer some core capabilities within it. One of them is the one that most people are familiar with when they think about doing costs in Microsoft Project on the desktop. And it's really a bottoms-up resource assignment to assigning resources to specific tasks and then having resource rates assigned with those resources and then having them calculate a cost, which then rolls up from those tasks up to the overall project. The screen capture over on the right-hand side to illustrate has a project manager assigned a certain number of hours, and by having those hours assigned, it carries with it a certain cost based upon the rates for that project manager. And this is what people do in Microsoft Project Standalone as well as in Project Online. Now that's a bottoms-up exercise that requires a lot of detail and actually has to have detailed tasks in place before we can generate those costs. Another bottoms-up method might be not resource related at all. Maybe you just want to enter dollars into a project schedule. And another bottoms-up exercise would be to just enter dollars into specific cost fields that are available to you within Microsoft Project. And the idea is that by putting those dollars in as just dollar values, we'll let them roll up through the different hierarchies in your work breakdown structure, ultimately up to a total dollar volume for those costs. And then it also has added in recent years the ability to do a little bit more top-down financial planning by using what's called budget resources. And these budget resources are done at the project level, maybe even before you even have a single task into this project at a detailed level, to be able to identify different budget categories that which you want to put time-phased costs associated with them within that project plan. But once again, this is done in Microsoft Project Desktop into the client to make this happen. So it's a capability that allows you to extend and do maybe top-down financial planning before you maybe do a more bottoms-up tactical roll-up of tasks. Or maybe this is all the financial planning that's done at all because of the higher level planning is all that's required from a budgeting and actuals perspective. And then if you move this into a Project Online realm, there are enterprise fields that either can roll up the data from the Microsoft project plans, whether they be budget resources or detailed resource assignments or costs at the task level, or hard dollar values that you actually enter into a project detail page that supports those things. The idea is that this is a little bit more of an enterprise or project level piece of data, but it's often or actually is more of a cumulative value that we put on here for things like budgets and total costs and actual costs and remaining costs, and maybe calculating things like cost variances, etc. So how does OnePlan from Wickersoft really extend this capability? Well, one is we really allow you to do all of the capabilities and then some without having to go into the full desktop client of Microsoft Project. In Project Online and fully embedded in Project Online, OnePlan allows you to do time-phased planning, budgeting, and actuals tracking at a variety of different levels right from within Project Online. The idea here is it integrates top-down project financials, streamlines the budgeting process, and allows you to leverage the strength of both top-down and bottoms-up financial planning with some controls in place. It really seamlessly extends Microsoft Project Online to enable full financial management by allowing you to have flexible financial cost categories, allows you to do scenario modeling and financial analytics and estimating. It allows you to provide one repository for all your financial information that you can look at on an individual project basis, on a program basis, or even on a full portfolio basis that rolls up across all of your projects, really providing the PMO with full financial transparency and one repository or source of the truth for this financial information. The idea here, outside of just financial cost categories, like we're talking about, like software, hardware, materials, travel, we also have the ability to do a number of different cost types. So for example, if we want to track budgets and forecasts and actuals, etc. The value-added capabilities is the fact that we have full integration with Microsoft Project Online. It really just renders itself within the Project Online user experience. We end up having financial visibility across one or more portfolios, and it gives us time-phased costs for both the planning and the tracking in the browser. We have Financial Planner with flexible cost category structures that you can determine. We have multiple cost types for budget, actual, forecast, and even tracking benefits for benefits realization. We have the ability to track financial impact with things like heat maps and even some scenario modeling, and it's even tied very closely with some reporting that we'll talk about here in a second. So if we think about this being a UI or user experience for doing detailed financial planning on a top-down basis. We also have tied into this financial management piece, which is just part of the overall end-to-end capabilities of a PPM solution. We have a number of out-of-the-box reports that look and be able to analyze the financial information that's being captured within the PPM solution, whether it be breaking this out by different portfolios or projects, whether it be highlighting things like budget, forecasts, and actuals and remaining and variance and benefits, or maybe even some trending like we see here that allows you to look at how we're progressing and where we think we may end up from a more predictive analytics perspective. And then from an analytics and integration, we have a bunch of pre-built financial reports that allow you to look at this stuff from a individual project perspective, or from an overall portfolio perspective, depending on how you want to look at that. And that includes aggregating multiple projects into programs. And then from that analytics and integrations perspective, we can look at cost status and variances across an entire portfolio, or even really embark upon and get visibility into benefits realization. We start talking about benefits when we planning or justifying a project, but oftentimes we don't have good visibility into tracking the realization of those benefits and did they actually occur, and how much variance there might be between that. The other piece is that a lot of financial information, especially on the side of actuals, is really being housed and captured in our financial or ERP systems today. One of the things that we have available is through Wickersoft's OneConnect, is a productized integration platform in the Microsoft Cloud that easily allows us to integrate Project Online as the center of the universe for all PPM data, but actually bring in data from your financial system so that we can actually bring actuals in that are real and audited from the financials perspective. We can certainly enter that information directly into Project Online, but some folks would also like to be able to capture what's coming in through the financial system, which might be costs that we don't have, like procured costs and other things that are done from a purchase order perspective. And the idea there is that we can make it a seamless way to be one portal and one source of the truth for all project costs, regardless of whether or not it's planned, actuals, or forecasted. Another reason why costs are important to capture in the PPM process is that we want to do some high-level portfolio planning, meaning part of that pipeline or part of that intake or demand, we want to start analyzing the requests that we get for projects and start determining what are the right ones for us to work on. And in that mode, we might want to prioritize based upon common valuation, of which cost is part. We might want to determine what fits within our budget. That could be both to resources and to dollars, of which cost is a big piece. And then we might want to establish different thresholds based upon incremental investment. What kind of benefits can we achieve? And those types of analysis are done very nicely within Project Online if we feed it a good amount and some good quality of cost information at the outset. And then by selecting the right projects, we can look at all different criteria to determine what the best mix of projects are and making sure that they're the right projects and that they fit within our ability to deliver both from a resource and a cost perspective. And then we can aggregate these things. If we have multiple projects that support large programs, like we have today with large compliance programs or other types of things that might happen where multiple projects contribute to an individual program, we can look at them from an individual project perspective as well as aggregating these things into programs. So with that, hopefully that gives you some context into some of the concepts that we're addressing with this project and program financial management. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Doug now so he can present some of these things in action in the software.
Great, thanks, Jim. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And I'm going to change presenter and make myself a presenter. Looks like I am. Let's share my screens out here. Okay, we can see the screens okay, Jim?
Absolutely.
Great. So thanks for that. And now we'll walk you through a bit of a demonstration of what Jim's been speaking to. We'll start with some of the basic budgeting and cost concepts that are built into Project Professional and capabilities of the Project Pro with Project Online platform. Then we'll walk you through what we do with our OnePlan financial planner through full integration with Project Online. And then of course, we will also talk about the concepts of portfolio analysis and doing a what if scenario with this solution, and finally move on to some reporting within the tool set through Power BI, how we can surface some of the cost and benefit and actuals information in some comprehensive reports, effectively to get that information out of the solution and into a nice reporting format for your organization. So on screen right now, I'm showing the Project Professional tool. Everyone, I believe, on the phone should have probably already seen this. Project Pro with a sample project up, and you'll see that we have some cost information that's being shown on screen in one of the columns here in this Gantt chart view. So what we've done within this sample project plan is built out a cost for this project by first capturing not only resource estimates for the plan and perhaps some fixed cost estimates around specific tasks in the plan, but we've also added budget and cost resources to this particular Project Pro plan. So I'm showing you bottom-up type of budgeting for a project plan as you're going through an estimation period. Now, it's important to note that typically within an organization, when you add or propose a new project into the tool, into an enterprise-ready tool such as Project Online, at this point, you normally would not go about the task of building out a full-blown project plan. You might not even know if you're going to get approval for this project yet, let alone want to go through the effort and the time and costs involved in building out a full project plan. But if you only have Project Pro and if you're working with building out a budget for that, the tool certainly can address that, that requirement if you need to build out a pre-budget prior to approval, which most organizations need to do. So within this Project Pro view, I'm showing the resource sheet, and I've mocked this up with a couple of different types of resources, and then further delineated the cost type resources into budget or non-budget type resources. So I'll zoom in on this and show that we have work type resources with a variety of different named resources and associated costs, hourly rates or estimates for using these types of resources. And then we also have cost type resources that are located in the lower part of the screen here, where we're showing resources that are used for budgeting and non-budgeting type activities. So the way Project Pro works and how to use this is that these budget type resources are added to the summary task level within the project plan, that task 0, which you need to expose, and then a resource budget for those budget type resources is created in another view that you step through and estimate over a time phase type of approach when you anticipate using these different budget resources. You can then subsequently assign these budget type resources to different tasks within the plan and capture costs for those various budgeted resources over time as the plan is delivered. So if I change this view and go to this budget and costs view, you'll see the full details here, where we have this project called the Application Development Sample Plan. We have a total budgeted cost being shown along the top. We see estimated costs for all of our tasks, a baseline, the actual costs so far, remaining costs, etc. So full details within this project plan. And on the right-hand side, we see a time-phased view showing us actual costs and cost estimates for those various types of cost resources. So very comprehensive, very capable, and I'm going to throw it out there that it's also very complex. Again, we don't even know if this particular project at this time in the project's life cycle where it's been newly proposed, we don't even know if this project's going to get approved yet. So going through all of these activities to build out this the sample project plan, to add all of these different cost resources, to time phase out all of this work, and then publish this to Project Online to make that information available. It's going to take quite a bit of work to get that up and running and working easily within your organization. So that's why we built OnePlan. OnePlan Financial Planner removes that task from the project manager's desktop, from using Project Pro to build out that financial plan or that estimate for those projects, and permits you to do that within Project Online. So we're looking at Project Online here. I might go through a process of submitting or dropping in new proposals or ideas for work. I'm clicking on or showing the ideas link in this portal. We've got other webinars where we've walked through and talked about ideation or project request type processes within your organization. So look to our YouTube page for ideas on that and how to view and submit new project proposals. But after I've dropped in an idea or a demand or a proposal for new work, in the Project Center, that particular project plan will surface in this view. We have it within our demonstration environment set up so that new project requests come in a requested state. And we see that we have this social networking integration project that's been added to the project online environment. It's a newly requested project, and we're going through this workflow cycle right now where we're collecting and detailing initial information about that project in preparation for a review and approvals process to happen. So if I open up that social networking integration project, we'll see in this workflow status page that that particular project is right now in the initiating phase. We're gathering some information about this project and filling in some various details for it. We're waiting for our budget approval in this current workflow stage. We may have gathered some summary information about this particular project, just outline what the project's main goals are, give it a description, say who the owner is, and maybe what portfolio or program this particular project is part of. And in this case, we notice that the project has some initial schedule information, some status information, and some general information that we've gathered on this summary page. So the next step might be that we want to build out a detailed budget for this particular project. We need to understand what it's going to cost us, and also to do a proper portfolio analysis, what the anticipated benefits of this project are as well. So I'll open up the OnePlan financial planner for this social networking integration project, and we'll start to dig into the details of what Microsoft's OnePlan financial planner can bring for you when you're doing a web-based, fully integrated with Project Online financial plan for this project. So the way this is laid out, we have a number of different elements within the view to show you cost categories, expense types, provide a description for those as well. And on the right-hand side, we have a time-phased view to show us in this particular view the budget estimates over time for this social networking integration project. We have various controls that are exposed in these menus to first allow you to zoom in or zoom out. So I could change that view to show a month-by-month planning view. We can enter information either at this month level or at a quarterly level or at a yearly level. And when you change the zoom from one view to another, the data will be spread evenly across the periods within. So start at the yearly view if you wish, or at a quarterly view. And as you zoom into a month-by-month view, those numbers will be properly distributed across that time-phased view. I'll dig into this in a minute, but we have different categories of information available to us here, different types rather. We see budget information, forecast, actuals, or benefits. These are all configurable as you do the deployment yourselves. So you can add a different expense types yourself. If you're only interested in capturing initial budget, you wouldn't even have forecast, actuals, or benefits. But typically organizations would capture at least budget and benefit type information to help with that initial portfolio analysis, make some determination as to whether or not you have sufficient funds and whether or not you get sufficient returns on those projects in terms of benefits to proceed with and go ahead with those particular projects. We can change the timeline here, go from April 2018 through to June 2019 and easily change those views to extend or collapse the timeline for this particular project. And then we can also capture and view different categories of financial information and hide those categories if you're not using them. So if we wish, we could take any of these different categories, hide it. We don't care about materials and supplies or maybe travel and expenses for this particular project. So we go ahead and click in and hide on that or expose those hidden categories if we want. I'll dig into some of these other views in a moment as we go through the demo a little bit. Let's first start with how to enter data within these budget views. So I'll zoom into the month view. You'll notice first that April, May, and June we're not able to edit those in this view. And that's because I've gone through and I've set the status date for this particular plan to June 2018, effectively locking down those periods prior to this. So when you're budgeting, you would typically have the entire duration of the project open and available to status. But when you're capturing actuals or doing forecasting, as you progress through the project, you might lock down those various periods so that previous values in those previous date columns and those previous time periods is no longer editable. So entering additional information is very easy. I just simply click into any one of those cells, just like working in a spreadsheet, and I might change that number from $5,000 to $6,000, tab through and change an additional field in another screen or in another cell. So it's easy to work within this OnePlan financial planner view, just like you would as if you were using a typical spreadsheet type application. So I can go ahead and edit my budget, work through this exercise of establishing what the budget for this particular project is, and then it saves automatically without the necessity to click on a save button and update that budget. Just as soon as you enter those values in those cells, that value's been saved and changed for me in the data store within Financial Planner. So at this point in time, we can then go through and look at different categories of information. So I mentioned budget as part of the initial portfolio analysis requirements. What are the cost estimates for this project? Let me change through to benefits right now in the financial plan. So we see that we're anticipating some revenue for this particular project over Q1 and Q2 in 2019. That's when we expect we're going to start to see some returns on that. So between the budget and the benefits for the project, we now have enough information to go through and do a proper portfolio analysis, compare the total cost for it versus the total benefit return that we're anticipating for the project. I can also show other values in here, such as actuals. Now, actuals is an interesting one. We do have the capability to enter the information directly in this grid if you want to capture the actuals information there. Or if you're capturing actuals around, for example, materials and supplies, details that are being maintained in an external financial management system. As Jim mentioned earlier, our OneConnect solution it comes into play here and permits you to take that information from that other financial system, maybe SAP, Oracle Financials, and transfer that information directly into this grid if you wish to view the actuals within the OnePlan financial planner views integrated fully within Project Online. We can, of course, do that viewing and roll up that information with Power BI reports by consuming the data from Oracle, from SAP, from another financial system directly in a Power BI report and overlaying that with the project-related information from Project Online if you chose to do so. I'll go back to budget. And now what I'm going to show is the forecast information overlaid with the budget by saying compare to, and I'll change that view to show comparing our budget estimates to our forecast estimates for the project. So in this view here, we see that quarter by quarter, we've established what a budget is for this particular project and what our forecasted spend is for these periods. If I zoom into a month by month view, we'll see some greater detail in that view showing us, just as an example, for this row here, for the project manager requirements for this project in the month of May, we've established a budget of $3,500 and we have a forecast spend now of $5,000 for that project manager. If I scroll across over time, we'll see other areas where we've highlighted some issues within this plan, showing this heat map of variance within the plan. I can also add a variance column and compare those by either using a pure value, a calculated number here showing the difference between the budget estimate and the forecast estimate. So we see a dollar value here of an overspend of $1,500 for that project manager in the month of May, or we can change that to a percentage calculation instead and show a 35% variance within this view. So lots of different ways to enter information, lots of different types of information we can gather, including budget, forecast, actuals, or benefits that we're interested in tracking within these plans. Again, those are all user configurable. We add those when we do a configuration of the solution for you. We can modify, of course, also the expense types. So we are illustrating within this sample view, OpEx and CapEx type expense types. Add other ones if you wish, and a full description for each one of those expenses or those cost categories. And of course, you can add other columns of information yourselves if you have other ways that you'd like to effectively detail each of these cost categories. If you wanted to add additional columns to capture additional information about each of those cost categories, that's easy to do within the configuration menus for the solution. The heat map is user configurable. So when I was showing you those comparisons earlier, the green, yellow, red indicators and the tolerances for when they change, you can obviously make those heat map tolerances can be changed to reflect what that represents to your organization. Maybe a 10% overspend is yellow and a 15% overspend is red, or change the values to match your organizational needs. And then finally, working within these views, if you wish to get this information out of these views, we have a number of ways of exporting that data. So we can export this out by clicking on that export button, and you'll see that we can drop this out into an Excel format, a common delimited format, an HTML format, etc. I'll switch the view around and show you that I've already exported this social network integration project out prior to the webinar. And here we go, we're showing the cost export with all of the different cost categories and their descriptions, and all of the budget information at a quarterly view within this Excel export. So many organizations still rely on Excel to run their business. As you make the move towards using a web-based financial planning tool such as OnePlan Financial Planner, again, fully integrated with Project Online, you can still get that information out should your financial department need that in an Excel type format. All right, so we've established at a summary view for this particular project what the budget is, what our estimates are, and what our anticipated benefits are with regards to this particular project, what sorts of revenue attainment we think we'll see for this project. Remember, if I flip back to the summary for this particular project, we are in this initiation phase for the social networking integration project. We're waiting for budget approval, and then we're going to move on to a portfolio analysis type of process. So with a number of projects in the tool, all newly submitted and budgets prepared for them, we can then step through and do a proper portfolio analysis and make some determination as to whether or not we have sufficient funding for all of these projects, and do some what if analysis around what if we don't have enough money, what happens with those projects, which ones should we deliver, which ones won't make the cut. So I'll start with a baseline scenario within the portfolio analysis tool. This is out of the box with Project Online, the capability to do this analysis. But again, of course, you do need to add in that cost information for these summary projects as they're being submitted and workflowed through that decision-making process. Again, so that's where OnePlan can help. We have a number of selected projects here. We're capturing cost information and benefit information for those projects and comparing that in order to do this analysis and determine which projects should be delivered. So with a total budget estimate for these projects in place, what if we don't have $25 million? I simply change that value to add a constraint on this portfolio selection. Rather than typing that in, I've pre-entered that. So I'll change that to a $10 million budget, and you'll see very quickly that we've reduced the number of projects we can deliver, and it's moved out. You'll see at the lower part of the screen, 3 of those projects to make room in the budget and make sure that we respect that constraint. So we've limited ourselves to 10 million, and now the tool's only selected $9.8 million worth of projects. I can do that again and lower the budget down to 5 million, just as an example. You'll see that even more projects get moved out. It's respecting that constraint. It's picking the best selection possible within these scenarios to get us the highest cumulative value or priority on all of those projects. Do that again with $3 million budget, or I can do force in and force out. So should someone make a decision that this Fabricam project gets delivered no matter what, we can force it in, or we can add additional secondary constraints if we wish to limit not only our overall budget for these projects, but also examine CapEx and OpEx type values within this budgeting scenario and limit those numbers as well. So we've gone through, we've added new projects into the solution. We've captured a budget estimate and some benefit estimates for them using a OnePlan financial planner. We can do cost constraint analysis based on that data using the out-of-the-box portfolio analysis capability of Project Online. Now let's take a look at some reporting using Power BI to roll up this information into some reporting tools, or into this reporting tool for consumption by your executives, by others who are interested in viewing the all-up cost summary for the projects. This is part of our 1 ppm report pack. We're seeing our project cost summary report here, complete with interactive graphs and charts throughout each one of the reports that are shown on the bottom of the screen. Here's our summary view. We'll look at portfolio costs, project costs, and other views in a moment. Very easy to navigate within these views. We can quickly say what happens if we're only focused on maybe the create competitive advantages type of portfolio, or we want to see the cut cost portfolio. What are the numbers in there? So we can navigate within these views, change and filter on any of those pre-built filters that we see. And as we deliver 1 ppm in these cost summary reports and the other ones that are in the report pack, you get the source for those. If you wish to change the layout or reorganize these, the look and feel of these reports, you can do so yourselves. Just a little bit of Power BI training to learn how to navigate within these tools and make modifications to the views. I can drill down within any of these views. So we're looking at an annual view right now. I can roll it down to quarters, look at different totals across this. And here we see a portfolio cost view. We see a project level cost view where we drill down from those portfolios right down into the project level. We mentioned earlier that, of course, you can bring in actuals either from the OnePlan financial planner application itself, or we could be consolidating actual costs from another financial planning tool. So if you're using Oracle or SAP for capturing your costs across your projects, we can, of course, do a consolidation of that from those other tools and Project Online, where we've done our cost estimates into a report such as this to show us our project costs versus our actuals. And then finally, cost predictions, where we see anticipated costs over time. As we look forward in time, we're seeing this trending bar showing us a downward predicted forecast cost for those particular projects. So we see that over time and can start to understand and do some predictions for those, with some upper and lower bounds established for what we think those forecast costs will be, or those actual costs will be looking forward in time. So that's it. Again, we've done a summary of how to capture costs within the project desktop tool. We looked at OnePlan Financial Planner, showed you that cost constraint analysis within the portfolio analysis tool, and finally some Power BI reporting to help with some cost viewing and reporting across not only Project Online and the OnePlan tool, but also other financial systems. Jim, I'll turn things back over to you. If you're still online, thanks very much.
Thank you, Doug, and appreciate the great demonstration of those capabilities, so thank you. At this point, let's give a little summary and wrap up of what we've seen and discussed today. In summary, just from a concept perspective, hopefully that we demonstrated that and discussed that financial management is a critical success factor for project, program, and portfolio management, and is something that needs to be addressed and addressed well. Microsoft Project and Project Online do offer some native capabilities for managing costs, but Wickersoft's OnePlan does provide additional enhanced capabilities beyond what is offered by Microsoft. And OnePlan is fully integrated with Project Online, both from a data perspective and from a user experience perspective, as the capabilities are embedded into the full user experience in the browser. Power BI and Wickersoft report packs provide pre-built financial and cost reports and dashboards that give people a great starting point, but it by no means limits you, and those can be modified to meet any specific needs for your organization. Also, Wickersoft's OneConnect provides a productized set of connectors to financial systems. So if you want to bring those actuals in and make that data part of the mix and some of the reporting that we discussed here today and some of the analysis, that is definitely something that's possible without doing custom one-off integrations. And OnePlan is fully integrated and embedded in Project Online. So it's not a separate tool off to the side that we're integrating in. It really becomes part of the overall user experience. So from a value of why we'd want to integrate OnePlan Financial Planner into this, well, one is get us out of the spreadsheet business, meaning reduce the reliance on disconnected spreadsheets or manual processes, because people generally have to mash that up and somehow correlate that to what's going on in the project planning and tracking system. The idea is this becomes part of a central repository and a rich, robust data set of which financial information is just one dimension of that. Overall, that'll help us improve our cost management of initiatives and projects by having better visibility and integration into the mix. And it helps us accurately measure project financials, budgets, and return on investment and variances, and stay on track with key performance metrics so that we can stay on track by having the right visibility. And we provide that visibility not only on a project level, but organizational wide or across different portfolios or programs. We can also integrate project planning and financial planning and forecasting to meet project objectives and stakeholder expectations, meaning it's with the web-based capabilities here, we can provide good visibility not only through the tool itself, but through the reporting and the dashboards that we showed here today, so that visibility will help us maintain and keep in alignment with stakeholder objectives. And we talked about how we can integrate with existing financial applications that you have in place so that we can leverage where those costs are being collected. A little bit about Wickersoft. We're founded as a joint venture with Microsoft in 2002, so Microsoft actually is a part owner of the Wickersoft company. We do have a global footprint, so we can support companies of a variety of different sizes and reach. And we provide all kinds of different services, which we'll talk about in a minute, but we are a triple gold certified Microsoft partner. Less than 1% of Microsoft partners have a triple gold designation, and our focus is in project and portfolio management, collaboration and content, and cloud productivity, all germane to the topics we talked about today. We are a one-stop shop, so whether it be value-added applications like OnePlan or OneConnect that we talked about here today, whether it be the consulting services you might need to help you deploy or implement and get the most value out of these technologies, whether it be the education and training that we can provide to help enable your user base so that adoption becomes much more easy across the organization. And even for some folks, we have staffing services. So if bandwidth and qualified staff is part of your issue as far as your constraints, we can actually help you find the right candidates. And even beyond that, we actually have some clients that we actually administer these systems for them as a managed service. So we do have that available to you as well. We can support you to the degree that you wish to be supported. Also, we did focus on Project Online today, but we really are about enabling customers with Microsoft Cloud Productivity Solutions. Now, whether it be Project Online that we talked about in Project Portfolio Management, whether it be more agile development types of environments with Visual Studio, whether it be more digital workplace environments that are varied and happen in SharePoint or SharePoint Online, as well as the business solutions platform for Microsoft Dynamics 365, where they're doing things like professional services automation or field service management. Think about this as the context of project and portfolio management and extending this concept to overall work management within organizations. That's where Wickersoft really shines. And as you can see down below, all this happens in the Microsoft Cloud and can leverage Power BI for rich analytics and reporting. As a next step, just some special offers. If you want to kind of determine or get an idea of what it would take to get you from where you're at into a solution like this to some degree, we're happy to provide you with a free discovery and assessment and provide a roadmap of what that might take at no charge to you. If you are at a point where you really are evaluating seriously these solutions, we can get you into a trial of Project Online and the things that we talked about today. And Wickersoft would actually provide that trial environment and actually provide you some chaperone support through that trial process. Or if you just want some more information and you saw a very generalized demonstration today, we can provide you a more personalized one-on-one demonstration for your organization that's more targeted to your specific requirements, and we're happy to do that for you at no charge at all. If you want to reach out to us, the best way to do that is contact us at wickersoft.com via email. You can also go to our websites, wickersoft.com or project-online.com for more information. And in there, in our solutions, you'll see information regarding OnePlan, OneConnect, and our OneAnalytics if you want to talk about how we add value from an IP perspective. We have a rich library of webinars. We do these weekly. So we have on-demand ones that are ready for your viewing right away. And we have a list of upcoming webinars that you can register for at us.wickersoft.com/webinars. With that, I would just like to thank you for all allocating some of your valuable time to spend with us today. Hopefully you got some value out of this presentation today, and we really look forward to interacting with you and being of service to you in the future. Thank you and have a great day.